All right, we should be good. Shout out to everybody who's in the building. Y'all know what to do. It is that time on this Friday. Let me make sure we're good. Make sure y'all can hear me. You know what to do. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see me, y'all. Welcome. Welcome back to another show. We are up in this thing on this Friday, looking all crispy and clean, and welcome to another YouTube live stream. All right, and welcome to another episode of the ClassE Morning Show. I'm your host, ClassE, at patreon.com/ClassEbeats. By the way, the link is in the description as well as in the pinned comment in the chat, and we are going to get into it today. We got a lot to cover. I mean, a lot to cover. We got Turtle Boy, we got Karen Reed, we got Jimmy Kimmel, we've got Candace Owens is going to make an appearance today. When you think of a variety show, you're going to be thinking of this live stream because we've got so many topics we're going to get into, and of course James Comey as well. But before I do, I gotta say what's up to the people, man. Shout out to the gang in here. We've got my awesome, amazing Amy, of course, to start the day. We got Jay Money, the big dog Jay Money is in here. Les Cleaver just saying with Alicia. We got Mary. We got Taco Tuesday on a Friday. Spring Flowers is in here. Jay Buckmaster is back at it. Good to see y'all, man. A Fitz is up in this thing. We got Market here. Trisha, Nosy Rosie, Bombay is in the building. Shout out to Bombay. We've also got, man, there's so many of y'all in here as well. Yeah, shout out to Bombay. We did a premiere yesterday, Bombay. We did not do a full-on live stream, unfortunately. But we're back at it here today. We've got a full live stream for you. I thank you to everybody that's in the building. Shout out to In Blue stopping by as well. If you haven't yet, I don't ask for much on the show, but the one thing I do ask is that you all like the video on your way in. All right, likes are free, helps the channel continue to grow, lets the algorithm know y'all are enjoying the show, and it shares the video, this live stream, this entire channel with more people. So thank you to the 1,200 of you that have liked the video so far. That is insane. 1,200 of y'all are excited to get in here and listen to me talk and struggle stream. I appreciate it, man. Shout out to y'all so much. Please, please, please make sure you take less than a second and like the video. All right. I also, if you're feeling extra generous, you can share the video as well. All you have to do is click the button that says share, or there's a button that has a little arrow curved and pointing to the right. You can share that on Facebook, Instagram, X, even in the group chat, even in your group chat via text. So I know a lot of y'all do that, and I appreciate every single one of you that share the live streams every day that we're here. Thank you. I also will be giving a special shout out to the super chat. So thank you again to those of y'all that go the extra step and send in super chats. Big shout out to Mary in here. She says, happy to be here. Thankful for the show. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate the support as well. Thank you so much. And then we've got Martin is in here as well. Shout out to Martin Rich. Good morning. Good to see all of y'all in here. And we made it in here this morning too. Made it in on time. Y'all let me know what y'all have planned or what you have going on this weekend. I know a lot of you are ready to get out there. We've got some fall breaks coming up. Maybe some of you have already been on fall break, or the kids are on fall break from school. So love to hear from y'all what you got going on this weekend. We got the big dog, Jay Money, has been a member for 2 months. This guy right here, I got to give him a round of applause. Since the day he stepped foot into this community, he's been supporting in every way possible. Now he's in there moderating. He's been supporting on the Song of the Night live show that we do here, and he has not missed a day. Absolutely amazing. So thank you, Jay Money, for being here and being supportive and just being consistent as well. I appreciate it so much. He says 2 months of incredible vibes, amazing community, 2 incredible shows, 2 dope hosts, ClassE and Amy. I'm blessed and honored to be a part of this with all of y'all. Thank you, Jay Money. Big part of what we do here. Thank you. Also, speaking of, my awesome, amazing Amy just gifted 5 memberships. If you got a membership from Amy, you know what to do. Make sure y'all say thank you. Not only should you say thank you, but you should check out the members only content that we have here on the channel, and you'll get an opportunity to get instant access to all the videos we drop on the channel. I know a lot of y'all will see, if you're a member, that I schedule videos out some days in advance. If you're a member, you get instant access to those and don't have to wait until they drop. All right. So thank you to everybody who's in here. Shout out to Nana Banana, says love ClassE and Amy. Appreciate y'all, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Y'all gonna have to bear with me. Got a little bit of a cough going on, but we're gonna make it through. And I appreciate everybody sticking sticking through the show and y'all supporting as well. We're going to go ahead and get right into the content because, as I mentioned, we have a lot to get to. And on our first subject, we're going to talk about what's going on with Jimmy Kimmel. As y'all know, Jimmy Kimmel was recently attempted to be canceled, not only by the FCC, but some people are saying even by the president. Now, no matter how you look at it, this was a big win, not only for creators, but for comedians in general, because there's been a lot. They've had a tumultuous road, especially over the past 8 to 10 years, right? So now Jimmy Kimmel's back. He had his victory lap on Tuesday, and we got to check that out and react to that as well. Now he's still taking some more shots at the president. Not that way, though. Maybe that's a bad phrase to use since things that have happened in the news. Anyway, he is going at the president again, and he has more to say about what happened during his recent suspension. Although brief, let me see what y'all think about this. Crazy. Oh, I gotta skip through the music too. Shout out to him, because they don't get me for the music. I always forget. And what the Lisa said, this man is not funny. He's a turd. Dang. Y'all let me know in the comments in the chat. Are you rocking with Jimmy Kimmel, or was this just purely about something bigger than Jimmy Kimmel? Was it about free speech? Y'all gotta give him credit. He can be funny. I think he's done a good job with the way he's handled this entire situation with the FCC and the president still taking shots at him. That's not necessarily true. I mean, because you could look at it two ways. The first way is that he's putting the network in jeopardy because the show just wasn't doing well. If you look purely at ratings, I know y'all want to say ratings aren't everything in this case, but if you look purely at ratings, he wasn't doing that great. And then secondly, you can look at it for now, if people aren't supporting Jimmy because of what he's saying, they're supporting him because Trump went after him, or they're supporting him because the FCC went after him. And now, if they let him go at any point, there's probably going to be an uproar about that too. Are we going to see more Disney Plus cancellations? He said he's still the president and he got voted back in. So what does that tell you? I don't know. Again, it's just fun to watch this back and forth between Jimmy and the president. Again, free speech seems like it's at an all-time high right now because we've got a comedian going back and forth with the president. If anything, it's entertaining. And I disagree with that. In this case, I don't think Trump is a bully. I think people are getting upset because Jimmy thinks he can say whatever he wants to about the president. And at many times, the former president of the United States, and just the president not say anything. Just because the president's saying something and responding to a lot of what you said doesn't mean he shouldn't be able to reply back. And that goes the same for a lot of the other people. So who's really the bully here? We could technically say comedians are bullies, right? Isn't part of their whole thing to pick on people in good fun? And then you're going to get upset when the person says something back. Come on now. Okay, well, the rest of America didn't agree. I mean, look at the voting from this last election. But again, hey, shout out to Jimmy for taking his shots. I think watching some of this, I realize why I don't watch the show, just because it's not really that funny to me. But shout out to him. He got his points across, and I'm sure he went on. I'll leave a link in the description to this full video. Let me know what y'all think. Is this going to be the reigniting of Jimmy Kimmel's career, or is he going to be right back in the same place he was a month ago, maybe looking at the ratings and saying, I don't know if he should be here? Let me know what y'all think. And shout out to all 1,000 of you in the building. Appreciate every single one of you that are here. Thank you so much to the near 1,300 of you that liked the video too. Wow. Outside of Jimmy, I do believe Trump is a bully. I think he can definitely be a bully. For sure. But I mean, anybody with that type of power, any president, I guess you could call them a bully if they speak on something. Amy says, excuse me, he's been on TV for 22 years and I've never watched a show in its entirety. Thank God. Neither have I. Neither have I. And I've just, I don't know. I listened to some of the points, some of the punchlines, and not feeling it. Same here. I've never seen a minute of his show. This clip may be the most I've ever seen of Jimmy. It definitely is. I agree. Over the past probably 48 hours is the most I've seen of Jimmy Kimmel. I think it comes with the job. Yeah, Trump is a bully, and anyone that doesn't think he is, doesn't like his ways, he's going after. Um, I mean, who isn't? I don't know anybody that's in politics that can be characterized as something other than a bully. What politicians aren't bullies? Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a political thing. I don't know if you call it a bully or not. I mean, guys, you had these politicians on a stage in a debate on one side trashing each other, roasting each other for hours upon end. And then at the end of it, they go and they join each other's cabinet, or they go on staff, or they go here, or they go there. I think that's just a politics thing. I mean, you've even got people who've been on the other side that are in Trump's cabinet right now, which is insane to me. I don't know. I disagree. He's the president of the U.S. For good sakes, act like it. Yeah, I think we could sit here and I mean, we want to talk about Bill Clinton, George Bush. I think Obama may be the only one we can kind of say, he pretty much behaved himself. But there's things you could pick out about each of them to where you could say, you're the president of the United States. You shouldn't be doing that. Just run the country, man. I don't care what you tweet. This as long as it's not harmful. I think it comes with the job. Trump is a bully. And y'all are saying, right? You saying you agree that he is a bully? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it is. Lots of cleaning and working this weekend, but taking a week off starting the 3rd. Oh, shout out to y'all taking vacation. Dang. Yeah, I think if we're going to nitpick, I mean, we can go through the last six presidents and nitpick a lot of stuff. I mean, for goodness sake, do we want to go? I skipped all the way over Joe Biden just because I think we could. Jeez, man. Some of the stuff Joe Biden said and did was insane. Obama behaved himself. What did Joe Biden say? If you don't vote for me, you're not black. Amy says Trump is a paid politician. He already had money. He definitely didn't want the job for money. Yeah, that's possible. I tend to disagree with that. I think he could still, I mean, you got a legacy to leave and money comes with that. So, yeah. He said, you're not black if you don't vote for me. Obama saying, yeah, I'm not. All right, we won't get into it. I know y'all don't want to do the politics, so we'll keep it moving. Let's get into our next topic. Since we're up in here talking about the president of the United States, the 45th and 47th president of the United States. Let's get into this quick topic about TikTok. I need to change and find our guy here. And y'all may or may not have heard of this or heard about this, but as many of you know, there was a whole back and forth about what was going to happen with TikTok. President Trump was trying to basically relieve the pressure of China's reign and China's control over what was happening with TikTok, because there were concerns about security. There were concerns about what was being fed to people in the United States who were using TikTok. So now we were at a place to where the president said, hey, listen, we need to change the majority control of TikTok over to someone in the US or TikTok's going to be gone. And the world was freaking out about that. And then there was an original deadline that got extended. And now we're getting close to the end of that deadline. And it looks like they finally came to a solution. All right. So we have here that we just found out that President Trump signed a new deal to keep TikTok active in the US. I know some of y'all are excited. Your time on the toilet just got improved by like 200%. TikTok parent company ByteDance will now hold less than 20% stake in the company. So there's still going to be some influence from ByteDance, the Chinese controlled company, but not completely. While Oracle an American company will take over and oversee all U.S. data. The app's algorithm will be completely rebuilt in the U.S., which is interesting. We're going to get into some more details about that. First, we're going to hear from the president himself, talking about what happened, what went on, and what we should look for in the future. And then we'll get into more insight into the background of the changes we could possibly see if you're a user on the app, and from a legal aspect, what you should look out for as well. Shout out to Nick over on X says, President Trump has just signed an executive order making the TikTok deal official, saving the platform and putting it under majority American control. America will now control the algorithm. The Chinese Communist Party will no longer poison the minds of our kids, is what they're saying. It's a little dramatic. Let's see what he has to say.
Executive order on TikTok. From the first days of your administration, you've charged a team from your administration, led by Vice President Vance, with ensuring that we can preserve TikTok as a platform for the 170 million Americans who use it, while ensuring that their data is properly protected as required by law. With this executive order, you will be effectively bringing into effect the agreement that will save TikTok and ensure that it can operate safely and securely.
So this is interesting because I had a very good talk with President Xi. A lot of respect for him. Hopefully he has a lot of respect for me too. And we talked about TikTok and other things, but we talked about TikTok, and he gave us the go-ahead. You know, it's run by American investors and American companies, great ones, great investors.
He said he gave us the go-ahead.
You don't get bigger, I don't imagine. And maybe I'll have JD. JD was very much involved and in charge of it. And maybe I'll have you say a few words about the deal. He would report back, and the points of the deal, I think, are great for our country. So, JD, do you want to give it a little talk, please?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so thank you, sir, for your leadership and for your help. We really couldn't have done this without the president actually ushering this deal over the finish line. There was some resistance on the Chinese side, but the fundamental thing that we wanted to accomplish is that we wanted to keep TikTok operating, but we also wanted to make sure that we protected Americans' data privacy as required by law, both because it's the right thing to do, but also because it's a legal requirement of the law that was passed last year by Congress. So we think that we were able to do that. Of course, we're going to keep on working at it, but this deal really does mean that Americans can use TikTok, but actually use it with more confidence than they had in the past, because their data is going to be secure and it's not going to be used as a propaganda weapon against our fellow citizens. We're very excited about it. We appreciate the cooperation of everybody involved, and it's a big day.
Yeah, and not to mention that now American companies can benefit from selling that data, but we won't get into that.
And
shout out to JD.
I can say that especially the young people, they really wanted this to happen. They did not want to have TikTok
it's
close.
True.
And I got, a little used to TikTok. I used it myself during the campaign, and it was very successful because you know how I did with the young voter. Mm-hmm. And Charlie helped me a lot too. And he said to me, you should go on TikTok. And
Byron said that too.
Because we got record votes with the young voter, as you know, for the election. So I was a little bit prejudiced in that way toward TikTok. It was very good and very meaningful, but we have American investors taking it over, running it, highly sophisticated.
And there's a lot of folks who are running their businesses off of TikTok. I mean, this is a big deal. Whatever you could say or whatever you want to say about Donald Trump as the president, this man makes deals. He knows how to make a deal. He knows how to make things happen. So let's get into more of a background on what this is going to look like for the American people, how this is going to be implemented moving forward, and who really has control of TikTok now, which is a question I think we all want answered.
Savannah Sellers now has been following this pretty closely as well. A couple things, Savannah, you and I need to talk through here. First and foremost is the details of this thing. It's not a done deal necessarily yet. We got 120 days until it's really kind of put into motion. Walk us through what needs to happen here.
Yeah, it's not a done deal at all yet, Yasmin. And I know you've been talking about Trump is signing the TikTok deal. He was not signing the deal. As we just saw, and as you smartly explained, he signed an executive order that sort of blesses the deal and says, as the president, I am good with this as what is known as a qualified divestiture. That's the language in the law. That's basically the president saying, this to me qualifies as what we needed to happen behind the scenes in terms of the ownership of this app in order to meet the law. That's really all that has happened, though, Yasmin. So first, let's just talk about just from a straight up business deal perspective, right? You have the companies that that are actually the ones involved. The one that has something to sell, being ByteDance with TikTok. And then you also have this company that is essentially going to buy it, really more so invest in it, because ByteDance, as you can see on your screen, still going to hold just under 20%, which is what the law stipulates there. So you have these companies investing in it. That, as you know, is going to be a deal done with a bunch of lawyers, probably in a boardroom somewhere. That will mean the deal is done. However, prior to that, I do also want to point out, we have not heard from China, at least not today, and not all that recently. It's been about a week since that call between President Trump and President Xi, which we heard the president refer to several times and say that it was a great call, say that he gave the go-ahead completely, say that he has this tremendous respect for President Xi. But we have not heard from them any more recently than that, and we also have not heard from ByteDance. So those are details we are most certainly waiting on to understand how and if this develops. In addition to that, it was sort of a bummer to me to not learn a little bit more about who these investors are. We did hear the president once again mention Michael Dell, Rupert Murdoch, and then he said 4 or 5 world-class investors. On your screen right now is exactly what I just mentioned.
So let's see. We've got the CEO of Fox. Oh, man, some people are going to be upset about that. CEO chairman of, I don't know what that is, at Fox as well. We've got Dell Technologies CEO and Oracle's executive chairman. Okay, never heard of these guys, but they're out there absolutely killing it, obviously.
Murdoch's Mr. Dell, and then as well as, of course, Larry Ellison. We've known he would be involved. He has been involved, I should note, because of Oracle, his company that hosts the data. So now the question is, how does this shake out between his investing, how much is that, versus just kind of hosting the data? We still want to know a lot more about that.
So the president was asked if this is just going to kind of be all MAGA-friendly content at one point on TikTok, and he jokingly said, listen, I would love it to be 100% MAGA-friendly content, but I'm going to be fair to all sides here. There is, though, a question of the algorithm, as I mentioned, coming to you earlier, and how this thing is really going to look to TikTok users who we know are very dedicated to the way in which TikTok is right now. So is it going to be different?
TikTok algorithm.
Yeah, I know. I noted that moment as well, Yasmin, and he did end up saying, no, everyone will be treated fairly. But at first he did say, I'd love if it would be 100% MAGA content, making a joke there that was received, it sounded like, with laughs in the room. I think it's a really great question, because you mentioned at the top, and this is something that has certainly been said, a senior White House official told us this directly at NBC News, that they are going to retrain the algorithm on U.S. user data for a whole bunch of reasons that I don't want to make anybody's eyes glaze over. I won't go into the full tech of it, but that is a little confusing from a tech perspective. And a little bit, it makes you question how real that is and what that actually looks like in practice. But when you hear the words retrain an algorithm, you think, okay, so is the algorithm going to be different? That's certainly a valid question for users. And it is also a question that does whatever the ownership structure, and really, I think more importantly, the day-to-day leadership of this company, does the CEO.
I think, to me, when I hear they're going to retrain the algorithm, for me, that says essentially they're going to take it and have it more applicable or usable or beneficial to US based content. And they're going to have it more beneficial to possibly, I don't know, let's say accounts that weren't affected by this seeming breach from China. So I think there's going to be a lot of adjustments made to the algorithm, and we're going to see it's going to be a mess at first, because they're going to have to figure out a way to add filters to this algorithm without actually impacting the way the algorithm has worked in the past, meaning how TikTok makes the content discoverable, which is why people like TikTok so much in the first place versus maybe an Instagram Reels or a YouTube Shorts situation.
Stay the same? What are meetings looking like in terms of edicts that are kind of given to employees? Sure. Does the leadership structure end up having a way to influence the editorial on the app in some way? I also think that that's a valid question. I will note what Yamiche said there with people calling him. I thought it was pretty interesting to hear the president himself say that he had heard from small businesses, and that was part of changing his calculus, that they said, I will go out of business if I don't have this tool. That to me is a win for TikTok, because let me tell you, Yasmin, I was in DC a ton following all this. TikTok was flying in creators, small business owners, putting them there on the Hill to try to pressure, and it seems like that might have worked a little bit.
This is just an answer that you may not have, but I'm curious if you do have it, which is, do we have any idea of any of these companies? Of course, Oracle being one that has been mentioned over and over again, and we know they have more of a concrete role in this whole thing versus the Murdoch name and the Dell Technologies, but if they're kind of planning on hiring separate arms to run their TikTok side of the business, their TikTok side of the investments?
No, and that's a really good question. It's also interesting because as we start to get this picture of it, right, Yasmin, it's like a mix of technology companies and then also just money guys, right? People with a lot of money, investment firms that really have no other connection necessarily to running a technology company or to, having any real, understanding maybe of how this algorithm works, what this looks like. Certainly.
let's be honest. I have a feeling, the reason China didn't want to let this go, or they gave so much pushback, is because this algorithm is so good, and now the US is going to have access to this. So I would imagine as soon as the US gets access to this, Oracle is going to be doing some deals with some of these other platforms, like a YouTube, like an Instagram, or a Meta, I guess we should say, like even X possibly, to just get inside of the algorithm and see how it all works. And then they'll be able to apply that to what they do over at YouTube or what's done over at Meta. That would be my sense, and the thing that makes the most sense in seeing that. And then maybe TikTok, it just remains what it is and it could still be used in that way, but then these other platforms start to benefit as well. Either way, let me know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat. All around great thing for so many creatives that use TikTok to make money. A lot of people were worried about it right here in the US, and y'all are still, you're going to have your enjoyable toilet time scrolling TikTok. All right. You have another reason to stay up at night. It's great. Let me know what y'all think in the comments in the chat. We've got 1,100 of you in the building. I apologize. Got a little bit of a cough, but we're making it through, y'all. We are making it through, and I appreciate y'all being here and sticking with me as well. Y'all are saying YouTube is tripping. Oh gosh. When is the media IPO coming? Good question. What are y'all saying? You're saying all the FBI's cases are questionable? Yeah, well, there's that. Yeah, shout out to Time on the Toilet, man. I like my TT for disassociation time. Your TikTok? Oh, man. Yeah, y'all be over there doom scrolling like crazy. Let me see. Okay, I think I've got everybody. I don't bring extra stuff into the toilet room. It's in and out for me. I don't sit and linger. We're getting a little too personal.
What did he say?
But I appreciate you backing me up on that one. Rosie, good grief. I did not need to know that, but good for you for having your sacred toilet time. What? All right, let's get into this next topic. I appreciate y'all, and thank you again, 1,300 of you that have liked the video. We got to talk about Diddy in here. If I can find his picture. We are currently waiting for Diddy to get his sentencing, which is coming up the first week of October. And I can't find, I know I've got a picture of Diddy here. This is insane. And while we're waiting for Diddy to get back into court, he's got another plea for the judge. This man, oh man, Diddy has been through it. He's trying to find a way to just get out of jail, right? We've seen this over and over and over and over. Diddy and his team has been pushing this judge to say, hey, judge, listen, we've never seen anything like this. The major crimes that the state, that the federal government wanted to get Diddy on, the jury found him not guilty. OK, he should not be sitting behind bars for the Mann Act, which basically says he paid some girls to have some fun. He should not be sitting behind bars for that. So now they're coming before the judge and they're going to try and prove that the judge should allow Diddy to go free. Now, we talked about this before. One of the reasons the judge said that Diddy shouldn't go free is because an interesting fact that was stated by Diddy's defense team during trial is that Diddy is a violent man. And they did not contest that. They said, hey, if this was a trial for assault, we would tell y'all to lock Diddy up, but it's not. And the judge said, well, I just can't ignore that. And if Diddy gets out and he does something again, he harms someone else, we're going to have a problem. So let's see what was going on during this trial. We're going to talk about what happened before, leading up to that, what Diddy was looking at doing, what happened during the trial, and now what's going to happen after. Here we go.
All right, Sean Diddy Combs back in court today in an effort to have his guilty verdict thrown out. Combs is facing sentencing next month for his conviction on prostitution charges. CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman has been following the case and has more from the outside of the courthouse in New York City.
Sean Combs is back in court for the first time since the day of his verdict. Now, Sean Combs ended up being convicted of 2 charges. Those were transportation for the purpose of prostitution charges. He was let off on the more severe charges of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. But even with these lesser charges, Combs' attorneys have been arguing that those convictions should be thrown out, or that there should be a new trial if the judge is not willing to do that. This is a hearing on the post-trial motions. The judge is listening to arguments from the parties on these issues. What Combs' attorneys say is that this is an unprecedented use of the Mann Act, the federal law that makes it illegal to transport people across state lines for the purpose of prostitution.
The Mann Act is garbage, basically. We've talked about this Mann Act. It needs to be updated. It needs to be changed. It is so trash. And honestly, I don't know how there aren't more men and women that are being held accountable by this law, because you look at it, I mean, guys, this happens all the time. I mean, imagine people who live in New York and New Jersey. You meet somebody, I'm not going to go into it. Either way, taking somebody across state lines and doing something they say they regret at another time and then possibly being compensation happens too often. This is, don't get fooled out.
Transport people across state lines for the purpose of prostitution. They say that these were consenting adults having sex, and that this Mann Act has never been used in this way for conviction. Now, if the judge won't throw out the convictions, they say that a new trial is necessary because of the severe spillover prejudice from reams of inflammatory evidence that was related to those other charges that Combs was ultimately not found guilty on. There is a very high bar for throwing out a jury verdict, so we will see what the judge ends up deciding today, and we will keep you updated. Back to you.
All right, so now let's keep it moving. We're going to do a little bit more and even more of a rewind and hear from TMZ what happened in the background and what we're looking forward to seeing from the judge, Judge AS, as he makes this decision. Here we go. Let's get forward. We got the music. Can be doing
Welcome to TMZ Live. If the defense in the Diddy case gets its way, Diddy could be a free man next month, because they have filed a massive document basically setting out their position. And their position is that what he was convicted of amounts to nothing more really than an orgy.
Orgies. Yes, that he had orgies. Big deal. Is kind of the tone of the documents that they filed, and they, make their case for him. If you're going to convict him, that this should be a very lenient sentence.
So what they're asking for is this. They are saying, look, he was found not guilty on all the serious charges: racketeering, fraud, force, coercion, rape, all of those found not guilty. He wasn't charged with rape, but it was part of the force issue. The only thing he's left with is the Mann Act, which is taking a prostitute across state lines and paying them for sex. What they're saying is, what that is worth is 14 months in prison and then supervised release for some period thereafter.
Now, we should say that this is what they are, Diddy's team is suggesting to the judge. The prosecutors are on the far other end of the spectrum, where they're saying he should get somewhere between 4 to 5 years. That would, I'm sure, include time served. Again, he's been in for a year now.
I got to say,
that would be
that would be throwing the book at him for a Mann Act violation. If he gets 14 months, if the defense gets what they want, he'd essentially get out October 3rd, because
he's been in
for a year,
months.
And you get 15% credit for time served. So he'd basically be out after the sentence, and then he'd be on supervised release.
Right.
So there's something more, though, and that is
whether or not
he should be sentenced at all.
Yeah, there's this side battle that's going on where they want to throw out the 2 Mann Act convictions. They've won, and they're sort of trying to spike the football and say those Mann Act convictions should be thrown out as well, because all Diddy did was he never actually hired the prostitutes for the purposes of having sex himself. What he did was hire prostitutes, bring them across state lines. He said they said on the stand, the prostitutes, it was for our company, but even if you believe they came for sex, it wasn't for sex with him. He's saying he was the...
And not to mention, again, I know y'all are so sensitive about poor Cassie. We have no Cassie sympathy here, other than when she got, slapped up and down the hall. But when it comes to this situation, Cassie also had people flued out. Why aren't there charges against Cassie? Why? Diddy didn't fly anybody out and do anything with them. He flew them out for Cassie. And even if you want to hold him accountable for that, fine. But Cassie did it as well. And she was involved every single time. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Let this man go.
The amateur pornographer. He was the voyeur, but the sex was going on between Cassie or Jane and the prostitute. Now, this is a pretty clever argument. I think it's a little too clever, to be honest with you, because
they've made that before.
They have.
Well, there's going to be.
But that is, he's right. That is the classic Mann Act, is where you bring a prostitute across state lines for your own purposes.
Yeah, listen, it's an old statute. It's about going out on your wife.
For his purposes, like, I get it. He didn't physically have sex with the prostitutes.
But it's for his sexual gratification.
But it's for his sexual gratification.
I get it.
And who, whether he paid for their company or not, that's the oldest excuse in the book, to say I'm paid for my company and then I happen to have sex.
It's an uphill climb for them to do it.
Yeah.
Well, the judge is going to answer it later this week.
But the thing that the judge also has to consider, with the Mann Act, is there is a history to this. It is a racist law that was passed during Reconstruction to prevent black men from dating white women.
Famously.
And
Jack Johnson.
The boxer, was prosecuted. The black boxer.
Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry was prosecuted.
He's also black.
And who was black? I kind of
yes, I know. We assumed that they knew.
There was a fear of black men taking white women across state lines.
But Johnny Cochran in the O.J. Simpson case, famously,
was also black.
Who also black.
Not prosecuted under the Mann Act, though.
Said to the jury, race plays a part in everything, and they raised that issue. They raised that issue with Diddy.
But hasn't, as far as this case is concerned, that ship has sailed.
I think
they made that argument at the beginning of the trial.
To your point, it preserves it for appeal. You can have these kind of academic arguments, and maybe they want to have this sideshow go all the way up to the Supreme Court and really argue the Mann Act.
I don't know that it's a sideshow. Mark Agnifilo, who is the lead lawyer in the case, told us when we did our documentary.
And that was 7 months before the trial started.
And told the jury the exact same thing. What he said was, they looked at Diddy, they couldn't go after him for his business, they couldn't go after him for his taxes, so they did the last thing they could possibly do, which is to go into his bedroom. And it was a takedown, they said, of a successful black man. So he made this argument. And
now you can't make that argument now and get the charge thrown out.
You're right, but does the judge, is that in the judge's head? Is that in the judge's head?
So that he has a more lenient sentence.
That's right. Whether you look at it, through a prism of look at the history of this law and look at what we're left with.
Right. Do you think it's more likely?
Yeah, at the end of the day, the Mann Act needs to be thrown out, redone, restructured, burned. Because, man, I know there's probably some of y'all out there that are shaking like, I hope I can't get too successful because something might come out. I remember that one time they might have something on me. I don't know. Let's keep it going. And we're going to hear this report from Eyewitness News on Diddy as well.
Sean Combs' conviction on 2 prostitution-related charges.
And today, Combs appeared in court just days ahead of his scheduled sentencing, where his attorneys argued the prostitution-related charges were not properly brought. And it was an argument that left prosecutors annoyed and frustrated.
ABC reporter Darla Mullins is live in Lower Manhattan with the details. Darla.
This should be frustrating.
Good afternoon, Liz and Lauren. This hearing lasted about an hour and a half this morning, and attorneys for Sean Combs essentially argued that after he was acquitted of sex trafficking in the case of Cassie Ventura and Jane, that the 2 counts that he was convicted on, transportation to engage in prostitution, really doesn't make any sense. Sean Diddy Combs out of confinement for the first time in almost 3 months, wearing somewhat wrinkled tan prison clothing Thursday morning, his hair and beard well groomed, but wasn't a fresh cut. This a stark contrast to his sharp, preppy look during his 8-week trial. Combs warmly greeted by Judge Arun Subramanian. "Good morning, Mr. Combs." The 55-year-old enthusiastically responding, "Good morning, Judge." His teen daughters, 3 sons, mother, and other close relatives packing into a federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan with bated breath about Combs' fate. Attorneys on the case summoned back to court 2 weeks ago to answer very specific questions the judge has about the defense motion to vacate the guilty verdict of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution involving ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura and another ex testifying under the name Jane for the days-long drug-fueled hotel nights or freak-offs with male escorts paid for and frequently recorded by Combs. The defense arguing prostitution doesn't include commercial voyeurism, that Combs should not be viewed any differently than a producer of amateur porn.
Oh, y'all agree with that? Dang. Diddy was over there holding the camera. I mean, they didn't prove coercion, right? That wasn't proved in this trial. So is that a good point to say, hey, Diddy was just over there filming and enjoying himself watching? It's basically like live, like he's having the live experience. Cassie did it. She wasn't forced, according to the jury. Jane Doe did it. She wasn't forced, according to the grand jury. Diddy was sitting there enjoying himself. What's the big deal? If you're going to charge somebody, charge Jane Doe. Charge Cassie. Don't charge Diddy. It's a fair point.
And because the encounters were taped, he's protected by the First Amendment. But federal prosecutors shot back, accusing Combs' team of wanting a second bite at the apple, and that any clarification about the definition of prostitution should have been raised at that stage during pre-trial hearings, telling the court otherwise, the defense could just hold that in their back pocket and hope for an acquittal, but raise the legal argument when there is a guilty verdict. Now, after the hearing ended today, Combs spent a little time in the courtroom with his children, his family members, 2 rows of them. He said that he's getting closer. This is what he told them, that he's getting closer and closer to getting home very soon. He told his family he loved them. He even told one of his daughters that he likes her new hairstyle. So he was in good spirits after seeing his family. But again, this decision pending, and we don't know when it's going to come down, but everyone's waiting to find out what it will be. Reporting live in Lower Manhattan, Darla Miles, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, and shout out to Catnall Williams, says a very Brian Steele move. Y'all know Brian's over there not happy with this, especially that this man is sitting in jail just for watching some stuff that's regularly available on the internet. If we're being real, I think it's that's a fair statement. So with that being said, let's hear what happened post Diddy being in trial from an attorney and a popular celebrity. Well, I wouldn't call her a celebrity. Someone you've seen on the Breakfast Club.
Diddy update. I got a special guest with me.
Hey y'all, Lorna Rosa here.
So today's hearing, defense is challenging the verdict, saying that under the law, there just wasn't enough evidence presented for a jury to convict Diddy of the Mann Act charge. Now, the headline moment came at the end of the hearing. The judge asked either side, do you have anything else left to say? And Diddy's lawyer, Alexandra Shapiro, who's very reserved, muted, speaks in a judicial tone, doesn't just throw around words like that. Well, at that moment, she didn't hold back, and she said, this is an embarrassment to the United States of America. Lauren, what did you think when you heard that?
Wow.
I wasn't for sure in the beginning, but after some thought, I can't disagree with her.
What's left in this case, right? There is no sex trafficking. There is no coercion. There is no fraud. The only charge here is that 3 consenting adults went to a hotel and had a threesome, or 2 of them had sex in one watch. Why are we here is essentially the defense's point. Lauren, what were your other thoughts coming out of today?
I think some of the thoughts coming out of today were the prosecution is going to have to do a really good job of providing other cases that show that because Diddy did not benefit financially, he should be held in the way that he's being held and everything. That they really have to make this make sense at this point if they want the sentence to stick that they want.
He benefited. I disagree. He did not benefit financially at all from this. It was just for pure enjoyment. And the prosecution is not going to be able to show that. If anything, this cost him money. It cost him a lot of money, but he got to watch. And Cassie got to participate. And so did Jane Doe.
And everything. That they really have to make this make sense at this point if they want the sentence to stick that they want.
Look, the prosecution is continuing to bring out the same stuff. After Alexandra Shapiro, Diddy's lawyer, gave her statement about this is an embarrassment, prosecution came back and their point was, but Judge, he was hitting. Judge, he was kicking. Judge, there was drugs.
Nope.
That's not what the Mann Act is about. The Mann Act is about transportation to engage in prostitution. The reason why I think Shapiro was saying it was an embarrassment The reason why folks around this courtroom are thinking, what are we all doing here? Be consenting adults, go have sex in a hotel. What are we doing here?
Now, I've talked about this before when it comes to the entire Diddy trial. I think this Mann Act charge was honestly a good thing for the defense. And the reason I say that is because if it were just purely the RICO and the other charges that were included in this trial, I just have a feeling that the jury would have felt the need to find him guilty of something. And then they probably would have overthought it. They would have overthought the RICO. They would have overthought the other charges and been like, man, well, he kind of did. Maybe they could see the Mann Act and say, we know for sure that Diddy paid people to come over and participate in this. And looking at the Mann Act as it's currently constructed, we have to find him guilty of that. And that's another way we were able to call it here on the channel before the verdict even came out. But with that being said, that still doesn't justify the way the Mann Act is being used in this case, right? So that's what the defense is going to argue. We're going to see what decision Judge A.S. makes. Let me know what y'all think the decision should be in the comments and in the chat, regardless of how you feel about Diddy, and especially regardless about how you feel about Jane Doe and Cassie. All right, we've got a celebrity in the bill. Another celebrity. We got a celebrity filled chat today. We got Cat Not Williams in here. Shout out to Cat Not Williams. If y'all haven't yet, please make sure you go and subscribe to her channel. Check it out. The link is in the description, and I'm sure it's also dropped in the chat as well. Absolutely amazing content creator when it comes to talking about the legal side of things. Y'all go watch Cat for that, all right? Because I'll be up here struggling. Cat Not Williams, absolutely amazing content creator. Go watch her live. Go watch all of her videos. Watch the ads. Do not skip one. I'm going to come find you. All right. And go support her over there. Thanks for being in here, Cat Not Williams. What does Cat have to say? Excuse me. She says they've accused him to paying people off. Yeah, it cost him money. And she also says, I hate an indictment that's inherently contradictory, but survives anyway. They love overcharging in every aspect. From the state, from the county to the state, to the federal government, just overcharging. But I will stand by what I said. I think the defense is probably grateful, and it's probably a reason why, going back into what we just heard, probably a reason why they didn't push against the Mann Act in the first place, because they say, hey, listen, man, we're not going to go give them too difficult of a time about the Mann Act, because this jury is going to see what you're charged with, and they're going to have to say, well, I mean, we know he did something. We just can't let him walk free. So I have a feeling, and the prosecution pointed this out as well, that may be a reason why this was kept on the indictment in the first place, is because the defense knew they were going to be able to attack the Mann Act once he was found guilty, which was said. So in that sense, I could definitely see it. Shout out to Cat Not Williams in here. And thank you, Amy, for dropping the link to Cat Not Williams' channel. Also, Amy was premiering the video earlier in case y'all missed it. If you did, make sure you go subscribe to Amy's channel too. I know she needs to drop your link in there too, Amy. She's killing it over there. She had like 1,100 people watching the premiere today, and that was absolutely crazy. If y'all missed the video from this morning, go make sure you watch that over on Amy's channel. He should be locked up anyway in small cell with R. Kelly. Oh, dang, what did he do? Listen, if you think he should be locked up for, well, you know what? We're not going to go into that. We've been down that road so many times. I'm not going to, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to replay this video for y'all. Give me 1 second. I will be right back, and then we'll get into our next topic. Give me a second.
Diddy update. I got a special guest with me.
Hey y'all, Lorna Rosa here.
So today's hearing, defense is challenging the verdict, saying that under the law, there just wasn't enough evidence presented for a jury to convict Diddy of the Mann Act charge. Now, the headline moment came at the end of the hearing. The judge asked either side, do you have anything else left to say? And Diddy's lawyer, Alexandra Shapiro, who's very reserved, muted, speaks in a judicial tone, doesn't just throw around words like that. Well, at that moment, she didn't hold back, and she said, this is an embarrassment to the United States of America. Lauren, what did you think when you heard that?
I wasn't for sure in the beginning, but after now after some thought, I can't disagree with her.
What's left in this case, right? There is no sex trafficking. There is no coercion. There is no fraud. The only charge here is that 3 consenting adults went to a hotel and had a threesome, or 2 of them had sex in one watch. Why are we here is essentially the defense's point. Lauren, what were your other thoughts coming out of today?
I think some of the thoughts coming out of today were the prosecution is going to have to do a really good job of providing other cases that show that because Diddy did not benefit financially, he should be held in the way that he's being held and everything. That they really have to make this make sense at this point if they want the sentence to stick that they want.
Look, the prosecution is continuing to bring out the same stuff. After Alexandra Shapiro, Diddy's lawyer, gave her statement about this is an embarrassment, prosecution came back and their point was, but Judge, he was hitting. Judge, he was kicking. Judge, there was drugs. That's not what the Mann Act is about. The Mann Act is about transportation to engage in prostitution. The reason why I think Shapiro was saying it was an embarrassment, the reason why folks around this courtroom are thinking, what are we all doing here? 3 consenting adults go have sex in a hotel? What are we doing here?
I 100% agree. All right, let's get into our next topic, and it's time for our main event today. Yes, we're going to get into it. Again, if y'all haven't yet, please make sure you like the video. Likes are free. Takes less than a second. All right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and get into what's going on with James Comey. This whole thing is a mess. So big shout out to Amy for posting this over on X. And she's actually got a link to the full indictment, which we're going to get into here in a second. If you guys haven't seen this indictment of James Comey, it's shocking to me. And I'll tell you why here in a second. All right. So Amy, what did she post? She said, breaking news. Former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted by the feds. Oh my goodness. Why was he indicted? And what does this indictment look like? Well, we're going to get into it here shortly. I know y'all, some of these indictments, they're pretty lengthy, but this one I think you're going to be surprised by. So what do we have? The United States of America versus James B. Comey Jr. What do we have? Indictment. Count 1, false statements within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch of the United States government. On or about September 30th of 2020, in the Eastern District of Virginia, the defendant, James Comey, did willfully and knowingly make a materially false, fictitious, and fraudulent statement in a matter within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch of the government of the United States. By falsely stating to a U.S. Senator during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing that he, Mr. Comey, had not authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in a news report regarding an FBI investigation concerning person 1 who will not be named. That statement was false because, as James Comey said, he then and there knew he in fact authorized person 3 to serve as an anonymous source in news reporting regarding an FBI investigation concerning person 1. Guys, this is one of the most petty indictments I've ever seen. And we rarely see an indictment like this because when it comes to things that are said, when it comes to specifically false statements, you don't see this against the former head of the former director of the FBI. And their course, that was all in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1001. All right, what's count 2? Now, this might be a little bit more serious. Obstruction of congressional proceeding. Oh, my goodness. On or about September 30th of 2020, in the Eastern District of Virginia, the defendant, James Comey, did corruptly endeavor to influence, obstruct, and impede the due and proper exercise of the power of inquiry under which an investigation was being had before the Senate Judiciary Committee by making false and misleading statements before that committee. And I guess they're going to get into that at a later point because, guys, that's it. This indictment is barely 2 pages. I've never seen anything like this since I've been covering legal documents on this channel, and especially when it comes to an indictment against someone who was formerly in government, a former government official. So let's actually get into what's going on here. James Comey is going to respond to this indictment. I'm sure he's has a lot he wants to say about this and finds it somewhat humorous. I've never seen anything like this. What does he say? I was going to read the text, but we'll just go ahead and hear it from James himself. Let me rewind real quick. There we go.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Shout out to James Comey. Again, there's two thoughts that come to my mind when it comes to this indictment being that short. One, it seems pretty simple. They're saying, hey, you got up here and you said person one, they weren't involved at all when it comes to giving reporting or talking to the news anonymously. Then it comes out that, hey, we talked to person three and they said they have information about person one. What they said was true, which makes you a liar. Again, not great. So there's either a lot there that we're going to see as this goes throughout this process, or there's nothing there. And this is just the current administration being petty and following through on the promise. Now, as was mentioned, one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up right after we talked about Diddy was because Comey's daughter was recently fired from her job as a prosecutor. She was actually a prosecutor on Diddy's trial. Could they be connected? We talked about that in the past video. If y'all haven't seen the video, you can go back and watch it. And I'll leave a link to that video in the description of this one. But we're going to move forward and get some more details into what could be possibly going on with James Comey, what evidence will be seen, and should he be worried moving forward? He seems like he's doing okay. Let's check it out.
To surrender today after being indicted on 2 charges, including obstruction of a congressional proceeding.
Chanley Painter joins us now with all the details. Hi, Chanley.
Hey, Todd and Carly. So the former director of the FBI, James Comey, faces a 2-count indictment, including charges of giving false statements and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. Both alleged crimes relate to Comey's testimony during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing back in 2020, which focused on the investigation into ties between Russia and President Donald Trump's 2016 campaign. Comey responded to the indictment in an Instagram video. Watch.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way.
There's a reason
we will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
He has great confidence in the federal system.
Fox Digital with this quote. He is a very corrupt person. He was absolutely a terrible man for what this country stood for. Comey placed a cloud over the entire nation, and actually the Russia hoax made it very difficult. It could have caused wars. And in a post to ex-Attorney General Pam Bondi, writing in part, quote, no one is above the law. Today's indictment reflects this Department of Justice's commitment to holding those who abuse power, positions of power, accountable for misleading the American people. We will follow the facts in this case. And, of course, FBI Director Kash Patel posting this in part, quote, today, your FBI took another step in its promise of full accountability. For far too long, previous corrupt leadership and their enablers weaponized federal law enforcement. This FBI will confront the problem head on.
Now, Amy posted this quote over on X as well, and I had something to say about Kash, but we're going to leave it alone for right now. I just think it's hilarious that Kash would say this, especially seeing how everything was done and handled during the Charlie Kirk assassination. But hey, I guess Kash, he's just doing his thing, and a little bit of the heat has a little bit of the heat has died down from him during his last hearing. So here we go.
And Comey is set to be arraigned in October, on October 9th in Alexandria, Virginia. Guys.
All right, Chanley Painter kicking us off. Chanley, thank you. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney Josh Ritter. Josh, this was big, if not unexpected. Andrew McCabe says Comey basically authorized him to leak. Comey testified he never authorized the leak. How will prosecutors prove their case in this he said situation?
Well, I think first it's important to understand that we're not talking about something that was factually inaccurate, but something that he said that was factually untrue. And it's a small but important distinction because the latter shows that he was lying. In other words, one of the things they're going to have to prove, and this is not a small task, it's difficult in these perjury types cases, but proving that what he said at the time was untrue, that he knew it was untrue, and proving what somebody knew other than misremembering or being mistaken can sometimes be incredibly difficult.
Oh, y'all want some more false memories? Yikes. Call Officer Dever. This is why Officer Dever resigned. We now know why Officer Dever resigned. She is going to be a consultant on this case against James Comey. Congratulations to her for the upgrade. We are going to have a false memories expert on James Comey's defense team. Now, the interesting thing about this is what he's saying between something that is just false or it wasn't true. And did James Comey directly lie, or did he just give the wrong information? So that is an important distinction. I want to go back to this indictment and read exactly what it says. So Comey said that he didn't authorize someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source when he was talking about an investigation concerning person one. But what's being accused or what's being said is that that statement was false and that Comey knew he in fact had authorized person three to serve as an anonymous news source in reportings regarding an FBI investigation concerning person one. So basically, Comey, he said, I didn't authorize anybody to talk about this anonymously. And he did authorize someone to talk about this anonymously. That, in fact, would be a lie. If this turns out to be a true, right? Let's keep it moving.
Though not impossible, just, perhaps through the use of conversations that he had before and after testimony, documents, emails, but they're going to have to show that he understood at the time what he's saying was misleading to the inquiry.
So Democrats are responding to this indictment, as you would expect, calling it an attack on the rule of law. It's like they got their talking points, and they've been saying this throughout media over the last 12 hours. Elizabeth Warren posted the following, quote, Trump demanded Comey be charged. A veteran prosecutor resigned rather than bend the knee. And then Trump handpicked an aide who'd do it anyway. Using the justice system to go after a political opponent is what dictators do. It's Comey today, but it could be anyone tomorrow.
Yeah, I hope it's Elizabeth
what Warren
Warren
says there,
She's
and
a
there
menace.
is an iota of truth to some of the things that she said, definitely not all. How is this an attack on the rule of law, Josh, when at its core, the DOJ is trying to get to the bottom of which one of two of the top people at the FBI is lying and which one is telling the truth?
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's understandable that you would take a political position like this, but I think it's borderline reckless, but certainly premature at this stage when we don't really know what evidence the Department of Justice has to prove what he knew at that time. I think we allow the case to play itself out. We allow the evidence to reveal itself before we start making statements that this is completely unfounded. If it turns out to be true that he was, in fact, lying, I think we're going to be in a very different position than where we are right now.
Our colleague Andy McCarthy says he doesn't like this case. He says it's really tough to prove perjury. And with regard to the specifics, he basically says the following. A group of selected Trump lawyers couldn't find a case, or at least decided not to prosecute the case. And so he's suspicious that there is, in his words, nothing there, only getting this indictment literally moments before the statute of limitations is over, runs on this case. Your reaction to that analysis by Andy McCarthy?
That's
sure
the
it's
great thing about our
intentional.
legal system is that it is not like our political system in that you're going to have to prove it. So, yeah, you can say that if one set of lawyers took a look at this and didn't come to the same conclusion. Another set of lawyers took a look at it and came to a different conclusion. But at the end
Seems
of the
pretty
day,
easy to
it's all
prove.
going to have to be proven out by facts. And my position is allow the facts to play themselves out. We will soon enough understand what the Department of Justice has backing up these charges. And I don't think they took these charges lightly. They knew the ripple effect that this would have, and they're expecting it. And I imagine that they have the goods to back it up.
The case is before a Biden-appointed judge. In the end, does that concern you? And if I'm the prosecutors, do you think I ultimately get a conviction of James Comey?
Again, it's early to tell. The idea of which judge it's in front of, I think they might be concerned as far as what power that judge might have to dismiss charges before they ever see the light of day. I'm hopeful that if there is something here, that goes in front of a jury and we allow our system, I think the greatest on the planet, to play itself out and let a jury decide. Do they have the evidence to support these charges?
I'll give them that.
Clearly,
I mean, if they're saying they have knowledge that, what did they say? Again, this statement is false because Comey then and there knew he in fact authorized person 3 to serve as an anonymous source in news reporting regarding an FBI investigation concerning person 1. Then he's cooked. What are we even talking about? If they are able to find person 3 and say, hey, person 3, did Comey tell you that you could speak to the news anonymously? Yeah. He's done. What are we even... So is this indictment a lie? Or is the U.S. government just painting this in a certain way, again, to be petty and get back at Comey? Who knows?
14 members of the grand jury decided there was enough there to indict. And you said this in your previous answer. That speaks volumes because it shows that there is stuff that we don't know because grand jury proceedings are sealed. There is stuff there that ultimately led a grand jury to indict James Comey, albeit right up to the deadline, but they indicted him nonetheless. We will see how this all plays out. Josh Ritter.
And it's alleged that this was walked over to a grand jury too, possibly by the AG. Say, hey, I need y'all to listen to this today. What do you guys think? This is likely that this did happen. This is likely that didn't happen. Here's what we've got so far. Grand jury said, yeah. And then Comey's in the crosshairs. All right. Very, very interesting stuff here. I want to know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat. Should Comey be concerned? Is this nothing? Is it just a petty move by the AG, by President Trump? Or, this is going to be a long battle for him. I want to know what y'all think. And we've got some more information coming up too. Thank you, Cat Not Williams, for posting that link in the chat to the video where I'm talking about Maureen getting fired. I appreciate that. Shout out to Amy for reminding y'all to like the video on your way in too. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Trying to get all these coughs out. And I wanted to find, I wish I had kept that article that I saw about the Attorney General essentially just walking this indictment over to the grand jury saying, hey, can y'all help me get this indicted today? Again, this is all alleged. All right. There's no facts surrounding that, but that's the word on the street. Either way, we've got some more information when it comes to the man himself, James Comey, and we're going to get into it here shortly. Thank you to everyone that's liked the video so far as well. I see we've got, about 1,300 and things in there. Thank y'all. Y'all said Andrew McCabe? Oh, no. Yeah, should Officer Dever be a consultant on James Comey's team? They can talk about false memories, about misremembering. I mean, all that. This is worse than I thought it would be. It's embarrassing. It's a nothing burger. It might be. It might be. Will he have a BA mugshot like Trump's? Yeah, that mugshot was wild too. Shout out to Fannie Willis. I have a feeling Fannie Willis is probably going to get a message from the Attorney General at some point as well. We'll have to wait and see. So getting back into what's going on with James Comey and this wild indictment. We went over it in the previous segment in video if y'all didn't see it. And this is one of the craziest indictments I think I've ever seen. Short, sweet, and to the point. All they're saying is that James Comey, he said that an authorized someone at the FBI, excuse me, that he authorized someone at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports. And they're alleging that that was a lie. And that person 3 was actually authorized to talk about person 1 by James Comey. So now with that being said, let's see what's going to happen moving forward.
This evening, that former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted by a grand jury on 2 counts, making a false statement and obstruction. Now, the charges stem from Comey's testimony before Congress back on September 30th, 2020, and that specific date is very important because the statute of limitations on these charges is 5 years, which means the last possible date to charge Comey with this crime, lying during that testimony, would be September 30th, 2025. That is next Tuesday. In a statement, the brand new U.S. attorney prosecuting Comey, Lindsay Halligan, fresh on the job, having never, ever prosecuted a single case, wrote, quote, "The balance of power is a bedrock principle of our democracy. It relies upon accountability and a forthright presentation of facts from executive leadership to congressional oversight," misspelling the word principle. In a post on social media, Attorney General Pam Bondi said today, quote, "Today's indictment reflects this Department of Justice's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people." FBI Director Kat Patel said, quote, "For far too long, previous corrupt leadership and their enablers weaponized federal law enforcement, damaging once proud institutions and severely eroding public trust." Of course, that is exactly what is happening here. Donald Trump's administration and the enablers around it are very clearly and forthrightly abusing federal law enforcement in a way that we have not ever seen, at least since Nixon and probably before then.
Oh, now, all right. Now, again, I should have known when we were playing MSNBC that it would go this way. All right, let's not. We just talked about Diddy. Okay, let's not talk about abusing the system. Did he lie or didn't he lie? They're allowed to say James Comey got up there and lied. We have an indictment and we're charging him with 2 counts. What are the 2 counts? Count 1, false statements. Count 2, obstruction of congressional proceeding. And if he didn't lie, okay, you're innocent until proven guilty. But if there's evidence here showing that James Comey lied, which we probably could go back to if I were good, really, really good at my job, we could go back and find the exact instance they're talking about. Then how is this abuse? It's literally how the system is built. Like, what do you have to have? I mean, what? It's MSNBC, guys, so take it with a grain of salt. Same thing with Fox.
To punish political opponents. People who say things they don't like, people who've taken political actions they don't like, or law enforcement actions they do not like. Trump can barely even bring himself to deny that he is personally directing these investigations and indictments.
It seems like an indictment on James Comey is imminent. Would this be the first step in accountability for pushing the hoax of Russia, along with Barack Obama involved as well?
Well, I can't tell you what's going to happen because I don't know. You have very professional people headed up by the Attorney General, and Todd Blanche, and Lindsay Halligan, who's a very smart, good lawyer, very good lawyer. They're going to make a determination. I'm not making that determination. I think I'd be allowed to get involved if I want, but I don't really choose to do so. I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI. But I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Okay, I want to be crystal clear. All of the reporting we have, and we're going to have one of our own reporters who first broke this story, indicates that when Donald Trump says, "I don't know, I have no idea," that that's a lie, that he's lying about that. That was him today in the Oval Office, because we know that he has been directing this behind the scenes, and in fact, often publicly. This case against Comey is being brought in the Eastern District of Virginia. The previous U.S. attorney there, a career prosecutor, a guy chosen by Trump named Eric Siebert, a guy who had a good working relationship with Emil Bovee, who was the number 3 at Department of Justice, who prosecuted immigrant gangs like the president wanted. Well, he was pushed out last week. And the reason he was pushed out, in part, is because Siebert opposed bringing charges against Comey. And because of that, he was then...
Is that... I think, again, has that been documented somewhere? I haven't heard that. That sounds like a rumor and something that's not substantiated. But again, MSNBC,
Siebert
here we go.
Opposed bringing charges against Comey. And because of that, he was then swiftly replaced with the new U.S. attorney, Lindsay Halligan, who we just mentioned. Now, Lindsay Halligan is a Florida insurance attorney with no prosecutorial experience. She was once Trump's personal lawyer. Halligan was sworn in on Monday, and I have to say, today is a big day for Lindsay Halligan, who has now secured her first ever indictment. She went 2 for 3. The grand jury rejected one of the charges, but she's never done that before, so it's a big professional milestone for Lindsay Halligan today to get these 2 indictments because she's never, ever, ever done that before. It's now Thursday. James Comey has now been indicted, just like she was obviously appointed to do. It's clear as day what's happening here, right? In his first term, Trump tried to get James Comey to turn the historically independent FBI into a tool to protect his friends and punish his enemies. Specifically, he wanted Comey to drop the investigation against Trump's former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn for lying to the FBI. And now, 8 years later, Trump's new Department of Justice is going after Comey, they say, for lying to Congress, but really it looks like because the president has it out for him. Carol Lennox, an MSNBC investigative reporter. She was the first to report that Comey may be indicted along with Ken Delanian, and she joins me now. You know, Carol, the temptation when this news breaks and we have an indictment in front of us is to sort of go through the facts and the details here. But to me, that's a small part of a story that is much larger in context here because of you and Ken's great reporting about how we got to this point. As the person that reported out, how significant is this moment?
I'll use the words, Chris, that prosecutors and federal investigators are saying to me tonight, which is simply chilling. Chilling because a seasoned prosecutor who was appointed by the Trump administration, chosen by Donald Trump and his allies, looked at the facts in this case.
Guys, I hate when they do this, man. Like, we're just over politicizing stuff. Listen, if you have a problem with the law, change the law. We can't flip flop on this. We got to have accountability on both sides. It's so hyperbolic, so dramatic. None of this was being said when Trump was being charged right here in Atlanta by Fani Willis. None of this was being said. None of this was being said when this man was trying to run for president and there were indictments coming left and right. And he said, "Hey guys, can we run for can I get this election over with before we do this?" And they said, "Nope. We're coming after you. I don't want you to win." Nobody was talking like this. And now this is chilling because a guy might have lied on the stand. People lie on the stand. How many trials have we covered here? How many trials have we covered on this channel where a witness called by the district attorney's office has lied on the stand? How many trials? I think there's at least a couple. Have we covered where a witness has had a false memory, or we've heard someone say, "I don't recall"? How many witnesses have perjured themselves and the DA's office has just been like, "I don't know." Whatever. So if this man broke the law, then he broke the law. Why is it chilling that there's a very specific, very clear, very simple, James Comey said that he didn't allow anyone to anonymously speak to the news. The indictment says he actually did allow someone to anonymously speak to the news or authorize. Why is this chilling? It's chilling because it's Donald Trump.
Case and said there wasn't a sufficient reasonable basis to bring it and was resisting bringing it, was pressured to resign or be forced out, thrown out on the curb, and he chose to resign. Days later, a person with no prosecutorial experience is the U.S. attorney, and these charges are brought. What's important here for people to understand is that prosecutors have a duty not just to see if they can get 23 people to say, yes, we agree with a one-sided version and we will indict this person. The duty is to bring cases only when you can sustain a conviction and when it is righteous. And in this case, there's serious questions about whether this is either a righteous case or has the facts that can sustain a conviction.
On that note, I mean, one of the details, which is like a sort of asterisk, but I think is a very big one, is it appears that they were only able to secure 2 of 3 charges from a grand jury. Again, the grand jury process is incredibly favorable to prosecution. They don't hear the other side. The standard is not, beyond a reasonable doubt, obviously. Rejecting charges before a grand jury is extremely rare, but has become more common under this Department of Justice. And even today, in this case, it appears one of the 3 charges was rejected by the grand jury.
That's right. And Chris, to be fair, we do not know what that third charge was. Ken and I reported when we were reporting and breaking the news that his indictment was, or the attempt to indict him was imminent and would likely come today. When we were reporting that, we heard that there were two theories of this case that witnesses were being asked about and that were being pursued, at least by Lindsay Halligan and maybe one or two other prosecutors in the.
And let's be honest, guys. Listen, again, I hate to break this down. I've served on a grand jury, so I'm sorry, I have some experience in this. So if what they're saying is true, and it was just 3 charges, and these are the only charges, literally all they would have to do is say, hey, grand jury, here's what this man's being charged with. Here's the story. He went before the Senate Judiciary Committee, right? And he said this. Actually, hold on a second. Here's the transcript. Hey, guys, here's the video. Want to watch the video? And they watch it. James Comey says, I never authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in the news reports. And they say, okay, got that? Cool. All right, now we actually have person 3 who was authorized by James Comey to speak to the news about person 1. Do you guys think this is most likely to have happened? Do you think James Comey most likely lied to the Senate Judiciary Committee, or he did it? The grand jury said, oh yeah, he probably lied. I mean, I don't really need to see anything else here. Can we move on to the next indictment? And you all know what the saying is about indictments, okay? You can indict a ham sandwich. It's not that
office. And that was one, that he had lied in his September 2020 testimony to the Senate when asked whether or not he had authorized a leak about an investigation to anyone. And then the second was that there was a question about his handling of classified information or handling of a classified document. I'm not saying that's what the third charge is, but it is something that was being asked about and pursued. And now here we are with a third criminal charge we don't know about that was declined. And of course, the 2 charges here, Chris, just to reemphasize them, are false statements to Congress and then obstruction of a congressional proceeding by providing those false statements.
I want to we just got a video that has been posted, I believe, to Instagram by James Comey, of course, the former FBI director.
Yeah, we're not going to hear that BS again. Let's go to CNN. This is going to get even better. I'm sure CNN will use some more words that are going to say this is tragic. This is appalling. This is insane that charges will be brought against an FBI director for lying in front of a Senate committee. Oh my gosh.
James Comey is now the first senior government official to face charges in one of President Trump's biggest grievances, the 2016 Russia investigation. Comey is charged with giving a false statement and obstruction of a congressional proceeding relating to the testimony he gave before the Senate Judiciary Committee 5 years ago. This indictment comes just days after the president publicly demanded it, and shortly after the person the president had picked to be the U.S. attorney in this office quit. And the new U.S. attorney, 3 days into that job, did what the president had wanted to happen only 5 days before the statute of limitations was set to run out. Tonight, the president is celebrating, writing in all caps on Truth Social, quote, "Justice in America. One of the worst human beings this country has ever exposed to is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI.
Dang.
Today, he was indicted by a grand jury on 2 felony counts for various illegal and unlawful acts. He has been so bad for our country for so long and is now at the beginning of being held responsible for his crimes against our nation." The president ended his post with "Make America Great Again." This comes as I'm told by sources tonight that James Comey is expected to surrender tomorrow morning. We'll be watching, obviously, that appearance very closely. But the former director of the FBI has already made quite clear tonight that he's prepared to fight these charges.
Of course.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump. But we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, But I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial.
Probably because his daughter got fired. He mad because his daughter got fired.
Comey saying he's prepared for this to go to trial. We'll see if that happens. And of course, this comes after the president had made no secret of his plan to try to make this day happen when he was running for re-election. So much so that I actually asked former director James Comey about this more than a year ago and whether or not he thought this day would ever come. Do you believe that Donald Trump will come after you personally if he's reelected?
Maybe. I mean, he spent 4 years coming after me. I think all I ended up with was a $400 tax refund, which is great. I guess I overpaid my taxes. I don't worry about me. I have the resources and the friends, and I know how things work. I can defend myself. I really worry about the people who have less of that than I do, the people making the cases, the career civil servants who are prosecutors and judges who are the bedrock of our rule of law. They are the people who will be most at threat.
And thank you for saying this in the chat. It's a... Well, your daughter brought BS charges against Diddy. That's what you get. No, what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. That's not how it works here. I mean, this is just chilling that these charges could be brought against this man. I mean, come on, guys. Really?
I want to get straight to CNN's senior justice correspondent, Evan Perez, who's following this closely. Evan, obviously, we've seen this indictment now. It's just about 2 pages. It's quite brief, actually. As you combed through it, what stood out to you?
Yeah, no, the bare bones nature of this charge, of this indictment really stands out. And what we know about it, Caitlin, is that Lindsay Halligan, who is the newly installed U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, she is the one who personally presented this to the grand jury. That's not normal. Usually you have career assistant U.S. attorneys who make these presentations to the grand jury. In this case, we know that there were concerns that were raised by the career lawyers in that office who did not believe that this was a case that they could bring to fruition. And so what we have here is 2 counts against the former FBI director, an extraordinary day in American history, of course. But we also know that there was a 3rd count that prosecutors...
I don't like that characterization because, again, with these attorneys, man, you have to listen to the language that's used. Again, characterizing this in that way, I don't think is fair. And let me rewind it just so y'all can hear exactly what Evan said.
2 counts against the former FBI director, an extraordinary day in American history, of course. But we also know that there was a 3rd count that prosecutors...
Let me go back a little bit more. Here we go.
Grand jury. That's not normal. Usually you have career assistant U.S. attorneys who make these presentations to the grand jury. In this case, we know that there were concerns that were raised by the career lawyers in that office who did not believe that this was a case that they could bring to fruition. And so,
I don't think that. I don't like that characterization. It could be many things. They could see this and say, "Man, I do not want to go after the FBI director. I don't want to do that. I'm too close to this. I don't feel comfortable. This could lead to a lot of other things." That could be the reason. We don't know the reason. We haven't heard from any of them. So again, CNN.
So what we have here is 2 counts against the former FBI director, an extraordinary day in American history, of course. But we also know that there was a 3rd count that prosecutors had tried to get approval for that the grand jury rejected. We know that what was rejected, according to the magistrate judge, was a count of false statements in the jurisdiction of a congressional proceeding and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. And so those 2 carry 5-year terms if he is convicted. Of course, we're a long way from there. And we know that Comey, as he says in his video statement there, is planning to fight this. We also have a statement from his personal lawyer, Pat Fitzgerald, who says Jim Comey denies the charges filed today in their entirety.
Of course,
we look forward to vindicating him in the courtroom. And so that process begins tomorrow in earnest, as your reporting indicates. He's going to be surrendering in the federal court there in Alexandria, and then we'll see how this case fares before a judge and before eventually perhaps a jury.
And we'll be giving you guys updates on this as well. Listen, can we just look at things objectively at some points? I know it's easy to say, oh, well, you did that. Oh, well, he did this. Did Comey lie or not? It's that simple. Did he lie or not? Let's look at the indictment. It's pretty straightforward. Did this happen or did it not? Did he break the law or did he not break the law? It's literally that simple. Did he make a false statement within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch of the United States government? Did he? Obstruction of a congressional proceeding. Did he do that? And that's all we're going to focus on here. If you want to go to tit for tat, we could sit here all day and talk about, oh, who did this and who did that and who's going here. But if you decide and you make the choice to lie, and a person who's in a position who wants to hold you accountable for that does, then that's their right. It's that simple. Let me know what y'all think about it in the comments and in the chat. Shout out to the gang in here. We've got 1,600 of y'all in the building. 1,300 of you have liked the video. Can I get 300 more of you to like the video, please? I would greatly appreciate it. And thank you so much to those of you who have. These people are all professional liars. And the king liar is Trump himself. So? What? If he is, so what? Breaking the law is breaking the law. So if Trump's in office and he's a liar and he wants to hold James Comey accountable for being a liar, guess what? He gets to do that. When Biden was in office and he wanted to hold Trump accountable for doing things that he allegedly did not do, he had the right to do that. We just have to try and be objective and give smoke equitably. Equitably. Is equitably a word? We give smoke equally over here, all right? Nobody's safe from the smoke. And if Joe Biden were up here doing this, I'd say the same thing. Did that person lie or not? Can we say it's petty? Maybe. But can we also say at the same point, hey, James Comey might have lied? Yeah. It's not that hard. It's an outrageous abuse of power from a petty, thin-skinned psychopath. Man, if that's the case, then every single indictment that has come out ever by a president against someone is an abuse of power. And you also didn't answer my question, Poetic Justice, which is usually what happens. The question is, did James Comey lie? It's a simple yes or no question. Or it could be yes, no, I don't know. But no matter what your answer is, if there's evidence, and by this indictment, I'm going to assume that there is evidence somewhere that was shown to a grand jury that this man lied in a judiciary hearing, then he can be held accountable. How is that an abuse of power? I don't understand. Again, if Joe Biden today, at the ripe old age of, how old is this man? Like 80 something? I don't know. At the ripe old age of old, is jaywalking, and Trump, he's jaywalking in front of the White House, and Trump is up in the White House looking out through his binoculars. He's like, ha ha. God. And he calls the DC police. He say, hey, there was an old man out there jaywalking. Is it petty? He's 82. Good Lord. Is it petty? Yes. Is Joe Biden allowed to jaywalk? No. But here's the thing. You want to call that an abuse of power? Oh, he's abusing his power because he called Joe Biden out for jaywalking. It's still against the law, or it's a citation, I guess. I don't know. Again, answer the question. Did James Comey lie or not? You don't know. None of us know, unless somebody's seen the evidence. So until we take it to court, until we go through the evidence, that's what we'll find out. All right, man, y'all stop getting so emotional. Jeez. Look at it objectively and say, oh, dang, this man might have lied. He got indicted by a grand jury. Well, it's possible. But I'm going to believe, just as I do with everyone here on this channel, he's innocent until proven guilty. But guess what? Now he has to go through the process and we have to see if he's proven guilty or not. It's not just petty, it's un-American. I mean, don't lie. Can you at least agree with me on this? If James Comey didn't lie, or if James Comey hadn't allegedly lied, this indictment wouldn't exist. Can we agree on that? And if we can agree on that, then we have to say there's something in evidence that would point to James Comey either making a false statement or either making a false statement or an inaccurate statement. Now, if we go to court and we say, that really seems more like an inaccurate statement. James Comey didn't really say he had never authorized anyone to speak to the news. What he really said was he didn't directly say to someone that they could speak to the news about person one. And that's why we're here. No, my friend, we don't agree on that. Trump came into office vowing to get revenge on his enemies. Did James Comey lie or not? I mean, the answer doesn't matter. Still got to go through the process. And you don't like the law, don't like the law. But we can't selectively point fingers. You can't point fingers at Trump now and hide your fingers while Joe Biden and his administration is indicting Trump during an election. Just hold them accountable for their crimes, period. I mean, it is what it is. Should be that simple. Shout out to Mr. Brown in here. My God, Mr. Brown dropping the 5-bomb. Just showing love. No comment. Just showing some appreciation. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Always good to see you in here. What does Amy say? Amy says, considered perjury, which is a federal crime, even lying in an official investigation without oath could be obstruction or making false statements. We see it all the time. We cover tons of court cases here, y'all. We see it happen all the time. And I'm not going to disagree with y'all that this isn't petty. This is the most insane indictment I think I've ever seen. But is there merit to it? Yes, possibly. All right, y'all give me 1 second. We'll get into our next subject here shortly. All right. I think we got Candace Owens coming up.
Yeah, and so since he's expected to surrender tomorrow, I just think for everyone watching, there's some people complaining on the right that he's not being arrested. The agents aren't showing up at his house to arrest him as a result of this. What is tomorrow going to look like? What are you going to be watching for as the next steps happen here over what was so clearly telegraphed by the president himself here?
Yeah, look, I mean, your reporting, which indicates that he's going to be allowed to surrender, is actually a very big deal because, as you pointed out, people on the right, they want him picked up like Roger Stone was and other people were. And look, what usually happens in these cases, in normal cases, is that someone who, like him, is not a flight risk, is not believed to have any plans to flee, is given the opportunity to surrender themselves. And so that is being handled in the normal course that it is. They've been in touch with his lawyers and they know what is going to happen. Now, we expect that he's going to be released on his own recognizance, and then this trial will begin, this case will begin in earnest. Here's the thing. The fact that the President of the United States has made so crystal clear what he wants in this case has done some damage. And, you know, the briefs from Pat Fitzgerald and the lawyers kind of write themselves, right? Because the President has made clear that he was ordering this prosecution. And we know from our own reporting and what's out there that prosecutors in the office had some concerns. We also know that Lindsey Halligan, who was just brought there in the office, was the one who had to personally present this case to the grand jury. So all of that stuff will come rushing back as part of the story, as part of the case, as this goes forward.
Yeah, Evan Perez, as you learn more, obviously, throughout the hour, we'll check back in with you and our team. Thank you for that reporting. Sure. My legal sources are here tonight. We've got Elliot Williams, Judge Jill Konviser, and Ellie Honig, three of the best voices on this.
All right, yeah, no, they aren't. All right, we're good. We're good on CNN. I can only take so much of mainstream media. Good Lord. What did Amy say? Oh, you know what? I think I missed did I miss some super chats? Thank y'all for dropping the super chats. Let me see. I missed a couple of super chats. Oh my goodness. Shout out to Amy. She said this one a while ago. Shout out to Amy over there. I would do the hand signals, but this is a family show. Shout out to Amy. She's giving me hand signals over there with the 5 bomb. Thank you so much. We got J Money dropping the 5 memberships. If you got a membership from J Money, you know what to do. Make sure you say thank you. Check out the members only content and you'll see your name highlighted in that beautiful green in the chat too. Thank you, J Money, for the love. We got Slim Life in here with the 5 bomb. Says much love to my amazing CEB family. Face each day with a grateful heart. Life is a blessing. As always, thank you, ClassE and Amy, for the best channel. Thank you for the support, Slim Life. We've also got Mr. Brown. I got that one. Thank you, my guy. We've got Slim Life in there again, gifting a membership. If you got that membership or a membership from Amy, J Money, or Slim Life, make sure you show some love and say thank you. All right. Thank y'all for the support. I know we've got so many topics to get through today. I get to rushing sometimes. Poetic Justice in the building with the 10 bomb. Dang. I see you, Poetic Justice says, I support you, but you're dangerously wrong on this. Oh my, dang. Appreciate you, Poetic Justice. Listen, that's why this platform is so important and platforms like it. I know it's chilling, right? Poetic Justice, because we can have conversations, we can disagree, and it's okay. And still support. Shout out to Poetic Justice, man. I got to give you a round of applause for that. I know you disagree with me, but if we're going to have that conversation about me being wrong, that this is an abuse of power, then we're going to have to go back to a couple of years ago. Or even was it last year or was it a couple of years ago? Because this has been done and it has been done before. And if the law allows for this to happen, if a law allows for this indictment to come forward and for it to go through the process for the grand jury to look at this indictment and see, okay, it's likely that there were false statements before this committee. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's likely that there was obstruction of justice. Yeah. Then I mean, you got to change the system. We're not talking about one guy at that point anymore. You're talking about the system. And we've seen abuses of power using this system in the past before. So I'm not saying abuse of power doesn't exist. What I'm saying is in this case, these are so simple and so straightforward. I can't see where the issue would be in this. We're saying, and I'm going to read what Amy said in a second. James Comey is being accused of lying, and he says he's going to beat this. Ask yourself, why did James Comey say, I didn't lie? Why didn't he say that? I mean, obviously, he's a smart guy. He worked for the FBI. He's the director of the FBI. Why didn't James Comey just say, listen, guys, I never lied. This situation they're talking about, you're going to see in court. It didn't happen. Why? And again, I believe he's innocent. And I also believe this is petty. But I don't believe this is an abuse of power. Because we're going to see and we're going to find out if there's something there or not. It seems like you have a problem with the system, not with the powers that be. And I think on that we can agree. The system is so wrong. The system's so wrong that a DA can use rap lyrics in an indictment that say they were inciting violence, or they can use rap lyrics to show that someone was involved in something that they were never involved in. Or they can use an Instagram post of two people together that is totally unrelated to the charges at hand. The overcharging that takes place in so many of these cases. This does not look like that. We have two charges: obstruction and false statements. I mean, I don't know. I mean, James Comey's not even going to lose his job because of this. He's already up out of there. I don't know. Shout out to Amy with the cake. Ooh wee. Is it that time, maybe? Yeah, she reminded me it's lunchtime. I'm trying to get some of that. Yes, yes, yes. What else do we have? Shout out to Les Cleaver in the building. He says, God bless you all with the 5 bomb. The past sometimes comes back and bites you in the you know what? Rhyming accidentally. Thank you for that, Les Cleaver. Let's see what Amy's over here talking about. Amy says the FBI director's role carries enormous responsibility. Any dishonesty undermines public confidence in law enforcement and national security institutions. Comey was central to the investigation in both Hillary Clinton's emails and Donald Trump's campaign ties to Russia. If he were proven to have lied, it could delegitimize or discredit parts of those investigations, shifting public opinion and political narratives. Would people be having the same energy if it were Biden or Obama? Biden did it. Amy, we know this. He did it. And they're like, oh, yeah, get him. His testimony forms part of the official record on controversial events, the Clinton emails, Trump firing him, the Russia probe. If it's false, it reshapes how history views those events. Key allegations: false testimony to Congress on September 2022, Comey testified before the Senate that he had not authorized or was not aware of someone at the FBI using an anonymous source in media leaks related to investigations. Excuse me. And what's being said in this indictment is that he did authorize and he was aware. It's pretty straightforward. Were or not, the new indictment claims that statement was false, that he did in fact authorize and or knew about the leaks. Prosecutors argue those statements were knowingly false and constitute making false statements a federal crime and an obstruction of congressional proceeding. Comey has denied the allegations and maintained his testimony was truthful. His denial of having authorized leaks or being aware of leaks about FBI investigations into Trump or Clinton in the 2020 Senate testimony. Amy also says, after meeting with President Trump, Comey wrote memos about their conversations. Some of those memos were leaked to the press. Interesting. The Department of Justice Inspector General found that Comey's handling, retention, and dissemination of those memos violated FBI/DOJ policies. But the AG also found, I think, did you meant to say IG or Inspector General, I guess? The Inspector General also found no evidence that he leaked the classified portions to the press. In July of 2016, Comey publicly criticized Hillary Clinton's handling of the emails, calling them extremely careless, yet announced the FBI would not prosecute her. What? Some say that announcement and the way it was communicated were misleading and departed from standard Department of Justice procedures. Later criticized Comey on concealing his intentions for the press conference from his superiors, calling it extraordinary and insubordinate to deviate from department policies. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm up here struggling. We're going to get it together. I have a problem with this MAGA revenge tour. Listen, I call it as I see it. This whole thing with the FCC and Jimmy Kimmel, FCC should have kept their mouth shut and let ABC handle it. I didn't like that at all. But this, although petty, there might be something there. And I know Comey, we've covered some of the issues that he had. He's not. He's got some stuff going on. Let's just say that. Next on Trump's hit list is Letitia James. I'll be interested to see what you think about that indictment. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, can we skip over Letitia and just go straight to Fani Willis? We covered that in so many ways here. I'm kind of annoyed, to be honest. I'm annoyed that this indictment came out and we're not talking about Trump versus Fani Willis yet, or I should say the United States of America versus Fani Willis. But maybe they're building up to that. Yeah, Comey, he's got a lot of explaining to do. Yeah, the FCC needs to butt out. The FCC shouldn't have got involved. I didn't like that at all. Okay, let's move into our next topic. We're going to talk about, ooh, man, which one should we do? We got so many good topics here. I know Amy's saying, y'all need to eat. I'm going to eat soon. We'll get to it shortly. Let's talk about and get Candace Owens back here. Since we're in the spirit of conspiracy theories and what could be possibly going on, we've got to talk about Charlie Kirk here. Let me see if I can find this comment. But yeah, y'all keep the conversation going too, and I'll look back into what y'all are saying in a second. That's crazy that Biden is 82, by the way. Y'all said, he said, bye bye, Comey. He's got some explaining to do. Shout out to CPE in the building. I appreciate you. I mean, I know as many of y'all that don't like President Trump, I mean, he can get some things right. It's possible, you know that, right? There are some things that he can get right. Just because you don't like him and you think he's petty and you think he talks too much and you don't like the way he communicates, all right, he can get some things right. And we'll have to see how this plays out. This might be one of those things. Shout out to CPE. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the 5 bomb, my friend. Also, Amy in here dropping the 10 bomb, setting the record straight. What does she say? Y'all don't want to talk about the 88 charges that they tried to slap on Trump and the over 12 dozen lawsuits. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Again, it's yeah, it doesn't matter. Some people just don't like him. And that's okay. Y'all don't have to like him. You don't have to like him. But here on this channel, we're going to be objective and we're going to look at things on a case-by-case basis. It doesn't matter the side. We'll call it out. We'll call it as we see it. Wrong is never right. I agree. So we need to go through the process and see if James Comey lied or not. And if he didn't lie, then we'll say this is petty and move on. We'll have to see. All right, Poetic Justice. You still didn't answer if you think James Comey lied or not. I mean, you don't have to. It's okay, but I think that's interesting. All right, let's go ahead and keep it moving. That's enough politics for today. Well, this is somewhat politics. Let's go ahead and get into what's going on with Candace Owens and Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk. All right, so now we've heard a lot about this. We've been covering it here on the channel with the FBI's investigation into the assassination of Charlie Kirk, with conspiracy theories about what supposedly happened to Charlie Kirk, with the memorial, with his relationship with Donald Trump, all of that, right? Candace Owens is not done covering this. And we've talked a lot about what Candace Owens has to say about Charlie Kirk because she's very close to the Kirk family. She's involved in Turning Point USA. She has a lot of information about what was going on inside the organization. Here, she's going to be talking about what was potentially happening inside of Turning Point leading up to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Check this out. Candace Owens reveals that Charlie Kirk announced a massive audit of Turning Point USA just 1 week before his death. What? She says Kirk was setting up a DOGE, or Department of Government Efficiency department inside of the organization because money was being burned through too quickly. Kirk was far more concerned about the flow of money coming in than money going out. Wow. Let's see what Candace has to say, and we'll get to the full video already.
Surprised the company by announcing that he was putting together a DOGE department. Yes, a Department of Government Efficiency, like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy had set out to do. Trump won. They got behind him, right? They said, hey, there's a lot of pork. We don't know where this money is going. People are just accepting checks. Again, this is the whole purpose of the Department of DOGE. You put us in there, and we're going to figure out how all of these bureaucrats are just wasting tax dollars. Really kind of a nice way of saying we're going to conduct an audit of the government, right? That's the only way to look at what DOGE was. It's an audit, and then you cut the fat, and you see where the money's actually going. Don't listen to me, by the way, because we can read Charlie in his own words. This was a internal memo that went out, signed off by Charlie on September 2nd. I'm going to skip to the relevant portions. He's first and foremost announcing that Dear Team America, effective immediately, again, September 2nd, Justin Strife is taking on a new elevated role with Turning Point USA as its COO. Since joining TPUSA in 2020, Justin has led Turning Point's fundraising division and in more recent years has been involved in some organizational operations, filling the COO role in many ways, but now officially taking on the title and expanded responsibilities. Now we're going to jump to that last big paragraph. He writes, in this role, I have empowered Justin, among other priorities, to engage in an organizational-wide DOGE effort. Justin will be assembling a small team to assist in this effort, which is focused on Turning Point USA, 1, becoming more efficient, 2, becoming more cost-effective, 3, unifying organizational success around company-wide metrics and goals, and 4, reshaping company culture. I expect many positive changes to come from this forthcoming initiative and Justin's expanded role.
Very interesting.
Please join me in congratulating Justin on this new role with the organization. So I felt.
And Candace Owens was involved in Turning Point USA in a major way as well. So let's actually give her some credit and get into the full context of this video. And I will leave a link in the description to Candace Owens's full live stream. That way you guys can go and watch it and watch the full thing. Here we go. Check this out.
There's a lot of leaking going on right now, and I've been very clear that everything in my soul has been screaming at me from the very moment that I found out that Charlie got shot, that this story is much bigger, that there just was something much bigger going on than what has thus far been presented to the public. You know, all of the wrong people are eulogizing him. They're lying about small things, which I don't like, because why lie about small things? Only a guilty conscience of sorts lies about little things. And there are a few points that we have covered throughout the story that right away jumped out at me as odd. First and foremost, of course, Bibi Netanyahu over-inserting himself, not even just on day 1, minute 1. He tweeted before the president of the United States that Charlie had lost his life. That's weird. That is very weird, and we should not forget how weird that is, especially because when he went on multiple hits doing Fox News and Greta Van Sustern's show, he lied about the contents of a letter that Charlie Kirk had written him back in May. What I also don't like are the people like Josh Hammer and Seth Dillon, people that I know who are very nasty and work behind the scenes. I don't like that they have not yet been honest or forthcoming about the pressure that they and others were putting on Charlie Kirk. That just strikes me as odd. There's no reason to lie. No reason to pretend that you weren't doing that, to try to massage it and lie about it. I believe that there are lies by omission, and I view them both to be liars, okay? And of course, who could forget the word length of Bill Ackman's reply? I tell you guys about this weekend in the Hamptons. I tell you about Bibi Netanyahu calling Charlie Kirk and inviting him to Israel. And Bill Ackman replies with an essay, a college essay, 959 words to be precise, was his response to me speaking about that, where he himself did not actually address my point about the quote unquote intervention, which is how Charlie described it himself, and my point about Bibi Netanyahu and the offer to take Turning Point to the next level financially. No one wants to address those points because I was being honest. People thought that Charlie's ideas were trending in the wrong direction. And by the way, regarding that now infamous weekend, the response videos that were made, which seemed like there was some sort of a PR crisis going on, the response tweets that were fashioned, they were sort of getting funny. Xavier DeRusso was there. I had reached out to him. He had, rather than answering me, messaged me to say, I am speaking out about that weekend. He made a video where he formally addressed the weekend and explained that, yes, Charlie, and he uses the phrase moral blackmail. Charlie spoke about feeling morally blackmailed, but this was done in more of a workshop setting, essentially like it was a debate club, and they were strengthening their debates on the topic of Israel. We can take a listen to Xavier DeRusso in his own words.
And then people are taking things out of context, because there was in the article, the hit piece that came out, it talks about how Charlie raised up his phone and had written on Twitter, and he said something like, BB needs to resign or something like that. And he goes, what would happen if I do this? There was discourse, and then there was one woman who sat in the back who said, if you do that, you're indirectly going to empower Hamas. And then Charlie was like, see, you have to stop saying like that. He was saying that when you are debating about Israel, you need to stop doing it emotionally. You need to do it logically and factually. Otherwise, you lose the debate. He said it is moral blackmail if you say that somebody saying that a politician is bad, that you're then empowering a terrorist organization. Fair argument.
It was a fair argument, but it also was a real argument. And you kind of removed the names that were involved in this conversation. Natasha Hausdorff was there. Seth Dillon was there. And Seth Dillon was the one that was applying pressure to him. And Seth Dillon and Josh Hammer didn't jump on him in that moment.
All right. So now I want to skip ahead to where she actually starts talking about the financial part of this. Here we go.
Any positive changes to come from this forthcoming initiative and Justin's expanded role? Please join me in congratulating Justin on this new role with the organization. So I felt that with all of the rumors that I am hearing, to see that Charlie was essentially putting together a small team to begin looking at money and ways to be more quote unquote efficient, it's looking like that's relevant, that all of these tips that we are receiving from insiders is accurate. And what we're understanding is that there were a lot of contractors and people essentially who were taking money both ways, who were bringing in money and cutting deals. Said simply, the money was looking funny, okay? And Charlie set out to determine why, which means that others should maybe set out to determine why. Is this department still going? And like I said to you, others are setting out to determine why. There are journalists, forensic accountants that have been hired, and what I have been shown, the preliminary findings are quite astonishing, okay?
Interesting.
And I will say this, my sources at Turning Point said something that I found to be crucial, interesting. They said that Charlie wasn't just concerned about where the money was going, but also where the money was coming from. Where the money was coming from.
Uh-oh.
What are we to make of that? Okay? What are we to make of that? What does that mean? Either speaking about companies that were kind of flooding the zone with money so that they could have more influence, but they had questions about those companies. It sounds like there were people who were effectively double agents, making money on commissions on both sides of a contract.
Uh-oh.
I've seen a lot, and I'm going to allow the reports to come out next week, that people who have really seized upon that and are looking at things. And I think a lot's going to be revealed, like I said, as it should. We want to know everything. We want to know absolutely.
We do want to know everything. Shout out to Cal. Hey, listen, she is not backing down. Candace Owens believes this is the case. She said reports are coming out next week, and we're going to hear it, I'm sure, from her. I also wanted to go back into this segment because Candace Owens was able to get some high definition exclusive video from when the assassination took place. Again, this won't be of Charlie Kirk actually getting shot, but from the person allegedly running across the top of the building where Tyler was. All right, so check this out. Let me scroll back in the video and find it here so y'all can see it. Give me 1 second. Here you go. I think it's right here.
So many people have reached out and they spoke about the finances at Turning Point USA. And, I'm not exactly a forensic accountant, but I know that other journalists got really interested in this.
No, here we go.
My next point. So as you know, I have been positively obsessed with who killed Charlie Kirk because he was my friend. He was actually my friend. Everyone else who could eulogize all they want. Some of it felt a little cheap and fake and gay. But for me, this is real. So I have been hunting down all of the videos, all of the footage, and wanted to go back to ground zero, as we did yesterday, of the initial videos that went viral on social media and on X on the day that Charlie was assassinated. And it occurred to me that I forgot about one video. Actually, the only video that exists of the shooter sprinting across the rooftop a mere seconds after the shot was fired. Now, you probably recall that video in the back of your mind. You remember that video that was going viral of him seen running across the roof. Well, I'm about to show it to you in a much clearer quality than you have ever seen it, a higher quality than you have ever seen that video. Remember, before I show it to you, just to tee this up, it is just a couple of seconds after the sound of a shot rang out. Let's watch this together. And we're going to just cover that. It kind of looks like he's got something trailing behind him too. Maybe that's the towel that we've been told about. We can play that again as you watch this. Now let me tell you how I tracked down this footage. It took me all of 2 hours to track down this footage, to get the name of the person who had filmed the footage. And from there, after messaging someone on Twitter, they said, I got the footage from this person. This is the person that shot it. And he's willing to speak to you. I get in touch with this individual. Okay. Very quickly. It was all transpired in a couple of hours. And you will never guess what it is that he told me. He told me that neither the feds nor the local police had ever reached out to him. Never.
Dang. Come on, man.
I'm sorry. What? You have one of two people who have a recording of the shooter at all, right? At all. And the feds were simply not interested, as they were executing this manhunt, of reaching out to the individual who had footage of him running across the roof. How could that be? Why? Why would that be? Somebody explain to me. Make it make sense for me. Maybe in the fog and the chaos, sure. But at no point did they go, hey, I see this really grainy image that's gone viral on Twitter. Maybe I should reach out to the person that made it go viral and see if I can track down that person so I can get clear data, meaning the metadata that exists, which will tell you the exact second that the person was running, to make sure it lines up with my federal timeline that I must be creating. If little old Candace is doing it, then I'm sure the feds at the top are definitely creating a second-by-second timeline just like I am. But no, they never reached out to him.
Uh-oh.
Now I'll tell you what else I discovered, because a lot is going on. And we similarly, by the way, reached out to the person who shot the footage and said somebody is on the roof. We spoke about that earlier this week. He told us the exact same thing. He says he walked in and gave the footage to the Orem Police Department, okay? Nobody, and they said, we were overwhelmed on that day one, which makes sense. Everybody contacting, calling, someone says, I have this. So it makes sense that he would be on the offense and getting them the footage. But the feds never reached out to him until the 15th. After Governor Cox said the investigation was over and they had the guy, the feds reached out to him and said, hey, you're the one who shot that footage. Yeah. Did you make a police report? He said, yeah, I did. And, oh, really? We didn't know that. What do you mean you didn't know that? That this is the first time the federal...
The interesting thing about this is, if you were someone who had this information, would you be more worried than maybe a Candace Owens? Candace Owens is out here saying this on the internet. There's tons of people watching her, and I'm sure she has certain levels of protection. But imagine you're the person who captures that information on your phone, and then you give it to the police, and then they don't do anything with it. I mean, what do? Do you just throw up your hands and say, oh, well, okay, guess nothing's going to happen? I mean, do you push back and say, hey, what'd you guys ever find on that video? Did you see anything on the video? Did you investigate that video further? Like, no, not really. I mean, do you have to worry about, maybe there's something else going on here? I don't know. Y'all have to let me know what you think in the comments and in the chat. All right. Shout out to y'all still in here. I said, did she say gay? She said gay. She did say, it sounded like she did say gay. Candace be up here tripping, man. All right. We got one more thing I have to get to. Man. There's one more thing I had to get to because I know y'all are going to love this. I wanted to get into Turtle Boy's hearing that took place, but we might have to do that at a later date. We got some more Karen Reed for ya. Put a little bit more Karen Reed in your ear. So check this out. I didn't even know this existed. This is crazy. So we covered Karen Reed's civil trial hearing that took place this last week, and we went into all the details at that. We looked at the civil lawsuit. We were figuring out and breaking down basically what she was facing in that civil lawsuit. Then we actually got to see the back and forth between the plaintiff and the claimant, right? All right, the plaintiff and the respondent in this case, right? Then we actually got to see and find out that Karen Reed is going to be somewhat countersuing a lot of other people, and especially and specifically some of the people that are involved in filing this initial lawsuit. So now we get to hear a post-hearing statement and a post-hearing press conference from not only Karen Reed, but AJ as well. And then we'll get into the analysis and a little bit of the breakdown of what happened at the hearing. Check this out. Poor girl.
So you need the whole thing in tactic, right?
I think we're a little offensive during the criminal trial.
How does that work?
I need a fullback.
Hang on. Y'all didn't even let her get a blocking back. My lord.
We can move quicker.
Alan, can you help me understand what an affirmative claim is? What an affirmative claim is? It's an affirmative claim against third-party individuals. That's exactly what we intend to bring.
But the idea is to get them combined to save the court time and money?
All the same individuals are involved, so that's exactly right. It's a matter of judicial economy.
You respond to the fact that the judge would make it longer if you do this? You have all these
Well, of course, because it becomes a bigger case, more voluminous, right? It's a bigger case with more claims, and that's exactly what this case calls for.
How did you determine
the days of Karen Reed being on the defense are over?
Ooh,
right?
Y'all hear that? AJ said, we coming out swinging. The days of Karen Reed just sitting there, just hearing this testimony day after day after day, he said, we're done. We're going to be going after the O'Keefes themselves, possibly Brian Higgins, Michael Morrissey, the Alberts, the McCabe's. Nobody is safe. AJ said this in the interview we covered here too, and now he's just doubling down. They're ready to go.
The days of Karen Reed being on the defense are over.
Yeah,
right? That's what started today. That's what we're seeking today.
What do you think of the judge say? Trying to resolve this? Can you resolve this out of court?
Every single civil case should at least have that on the table. Civil cases are built and designed to be resolved if they can be. We'll see.
That's true.
We'll see. It depends on how reasonable the other side is.
Was that something that you guys would like to do, though? I mean,
Say it again.
Was that something that you guys would like to do, or do you want to make a point?
Anytime there is a civil case, look, civil cases are not about making a point. They're about trying to seek the truth, right? And that's what Karen's going to do with this civil case. We're going to try to get the truth out there. Like I said, the days of her being on the defensive, those days are over.
So you said
everything that you heard in there was basically parroted. Every single word that you heard in there was basically parroted right from Michael Morrissey, right from the prosecutions. They lifted it right off the prosecution's closing argument.
Right from Lowley.
And maybe somebody should check the tapes. Because last time I checked, those arguments were put forward in front of a jury, and the jury spoke very, very loudly. Not guilty, and not just not guilty when the jurors were asked. Innocent. Those claims are false, and they were proven false, and they will be proven false again. But in terms of what you just asked, should this case be resolved, we're always open to resolution. We'll see. We'll see. It depends on how reasonable the other side is. We got to go.
Jamie, did you want to say anything? I mean, you've been sort of point person on this, or?
Well, Ellen says it all as in its perfect way. So, what we're trying to do is
that's the other
make
side.
sure that Karen is well defended, and that the claims that we have to pursue for her affirmatively are brought in the same proceeding in the most efficient, judicious way, so that her day in court is fully unfairly adjudicated.
But if you combine these cases, isn't that unfair to the O'Keeffes?
Not at all. Not at all. Part of her defense is that somebody else put her in this situation. And so that's when I said it's not your typical wrongful death action. Karen Reed is in this situation because of the behavior of others. And as Alan said, she's no longer on the defensive. She's going affirmatively, and we're trying to put all the evidence, all the parties, all the claims in
No, I disagree with that. Because the emotional distress, which again, I'm going to continue to stand on this until I hear evidence that shows otherwise. The emotional distress, that is purely and only because of Karen Reed's actions. Right? So I would disagree with that. So again, lawyers, I listen to every single word they say because they're attorneys. I get what he's trying to say here, but come on. They had the drinks. Karen Reed and John O'Keefe, they had the drinks. Karen Reed was out driving, reckless. And then once whatever happened to John, she did what she caused the emotional distress to Kaylee, allegedly. So I disagree with that characterization.
Of others. And as Alan said, she's no longer on the defensive. She's going affirmatively, and we're trying to put all the evidence, all the parties, all the claims in the same proceeding.
How did you decide on who to name in the counterclaim?
I'd love to tell you that, but it's really sort of a litigation strategy point. So unfortunately, I cannot get into sort of discussions behind the scenes.
So do you plan to prove that someone else killed John O'Keefe?
We plan to show that Karen did not.
But that's not the same as proving someone else did.
Should be easy to do.
We're going to let the evidence play out. I'm not able to tell you that yet, but I can tell you that she did not.
How about, can you spell your first and last name for me, Colin?
Sure. Damon, D-A-M-O-N, Seligson, S-E-L-I-G-S-O-N.
Thank you.
All right, there it is. So now let's get into the breakdown of what just happened and what went down in that hearing. It's crazy.
Turn in the Karen Reed civil case. Her attorneys have announced they plan to sue key players from her 2 criminal trials. The announcement was made at yesterday's hearing in Plymouth. The focus was the wrongful death lawsuit filed by the family of Reed's Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe. Reed was recently acquitted of murder in his 2022 death. Her defense alleges she was the victim of a law enforcement cover-up. So they now plan to sue Canton Police, State Police, several current and former state troopers, as well as a number of civilian witnesses who testified at Reed's trials.
The people in the house were either police or police adjacent, who were socially and personally connected. Then they collectively conspired to ensure that what happened in the house was not explored and investigated. And instead, Ms. Reed was wrongfully targeted, maliciously prosecuted.
Well, there is a lot to discuss here. With that, we want to bring in our NBC 10 courtroom insider, Sue O'Connell. She was in the court for both Karen Reed's trials. So, Sue, the judge is urging both sides to reach a settlement, but it looks like Reed's civil case could be going to trial. So just how complicated has this case become, and why is it becoming such a legal mess now?
Well, Priscilla, because the vast majority of civil cases settle, and the parties involved here, at least not right now, may not have that as job number one. And speaking of parties, you've now got the original wrongful death suit by the O'Keefe family, and now you have Reed's countersuit against 10 different parties, including state police and civilian witnesses. And plus, you've got the suit by the O'Keefes against 2 Canton bars. They're being sued for allegedly over-serving Reed. So this now isn't just about the money damages anymore, which is what most civil cases are. It's about the competing narratives of what really happened that night. And as experts have told me, it could drag on for years.
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point. Most civil cases typically settle. This doesn't seem to be like that. How common is it for someone to flip the script like this and now sue witnesses from their own criminal trial in a civil case?
Is anything about Karen Reed trials, anything just normal? No, it's actually very unusual. And what Reed's team is doing here is they're claiming civil rights violations and conspiracy against the state police investigators and civilian witnesses who testified against her. So it's a counterattack strategy. And experts tell me it does happen sometimes, usually, though, when someone believes they were genuinely framed or that there was prosecutorial misconduct.
And there was.
And, you know, that's what she thinks happened.
Well, what do you think the wider, implications are of Reade suing witnesses in her case? Do you think it could backfire?
Yeah, that's a good question. This strategy can cut both ways, right? It puts all of these witnesses on the defensive, and now it forces them to spend money on their own legal defense team. Now, that could make them less enthusiastic about participating in the O'Keefe family's wrongful death suit. Now, that works in Reade's favor, right? But it could also backfire on Karen Reade by making her look vindictive or like she's trying to intimidate witnesses. Not that she is, it's what it looks like. And there also could be a wider societal impact to consider. If witnesses start getting sued every time they testify in a high-profile case, it could create a chilling effect where people would be reluctant to come forward as witnesses in future criminal cases.
Yeah, sure.
Well, it's not about them testifying. It's about them lying. It's about a cover-up. It's about false information and about a DA's office that allowed them to lie. You have Michael Morrissey that encouraged them to lie. You have Commissioner Cox that said, do the right thing. You have an officer who had false memories. Sue them all. Again, it's so simple being a witness. You get up there, you tell the truth, you move on with your life. It's not that complicated, right? There's a reason the names that were mentioned by Karen Reade's attorney were mentioned, because these people were involved. They're hiding something, and the evidence didn't even align with their testimonies. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat. Karen Reade is back and she's ready to fight. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. All right, shout out to y'all. Amy's already reminding you guys to make sure you tap in tonight, Song of the Night Live. We're going to be live here, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, about 6 hours. Oh, man. You don't want to miss out. Thank you to all 1,300 of you that liked the video. If you haven't yet liked the video on your way out, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any time when we go live or drop a new video. Special shout out to everyone that shared the video out and everyone that went the extra mile and dropped the super chat as well. Mary, J Money, the big dog J Money up in here. We had my guy Les Cleaver. We had CPE, Mr. Brown, Slim Life, and then of course, Poetic Justice and my awesome, amazing Amy. Hope y'all have a great rest of your afternoon, a great rest of your day. I'll see some of you tonight. And as always, man, make sure y'all stay checked in and stay locked in for all the videos we'll be dropping over this weekend. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We going, y'all. Peace. Shout out to the gang, man. Y'all have a great weekend.